Hello, this is Meg Flanigan, and this is based on a very thorough meta-analysis of hundreds of studies in the learning sciences that help us to quantify and understand how it is that we learn. And then with these principles in mind, we can plan our lessons and assessments and evaluations to encourage and promote active learning. So I want to emphasize that teaching is primarily about working with human beings. It can be difficult and it can be messy, and all of us at some level, at some time, have been afraid that we might not get it right. So I just want to let you know that it's okay to feel like that, because our students are also afraid. They might be afraid of academic failure. They might be afraid of letting themselves down, of letting their families down. Maybe they have no idea what they want to do with their lives and they're worried that they're in the wrong major, or they're just afraid that they are not going to succeed at university. They might not make friends, all of this. So please bear in mind that we are all in this together. And that while sometimes this business of teaching and learning can feel a little overwhelming, there is a lot that we do know that can help support you. All right, and this first one might seem very obvious, that prior knowledge may help or hinder learning. But as we come to a topic, we don't come as completely blank slates. Well, maybe very occasionally we do. But most often, we do have some kind of prior knowledge, even on a very basic level. Maybe it's just even on principles, etc. But what we know, what our experience is, how easily we can access that prior knowledge, that all varies from student to student. So no matter the topic, we want to enhance our student learning by connecting this new material to the student's prior knowledge and experience. But sometimes we, and often our students too, can overestimate what that knowledge is, or how confidently we can access that knowledge and have that knowledge be correct. So this prior knowledge matters, but we need to activate it, or we need to find out if the prior knowledge is lacking in some way, or if some of it is there but some of it is inaccurate. So there's lots of ways to address this particular issue. And in this particular case, you can use a classroom assessment technique to help students to discover what their prior knowledge is, how easily they can activate it, and whether they need to be working on that. And if you know what that is, you can then direct the students to do some exercises that will refresh their knowledge, or readings, etc. But we can help them figure out what they know, how well they know it, and then build on that prior knowledge. Now, this one might also seem obvious, that how we organise our knowledge influences how we learn and what we apply, or how we apply what it is that we know. So as experts in our field, we are creating and continually updating very rich, complex networks that connect important facts to underlying concepts and procedures. And we have a high density of these connections, and we rely on these underlying principles. So if I give an example of that, in physiology, I'm teaching my students how the body works, how different organ systems operate. But in order to teach them that, I am situating that knowledge within chemistry and physics and math, etc. And so I'm really helping take these underlying principles and apply them in the context of how the body works. But when we are new to a topic, what we often do is we try to learn information as discrete, disconnected chunks, and that can very quickly become overwhelming, and we feel like we're drowning in minutiae. So we want to help our students to see how this physical concept that they learn, how does that apply now that we're thinking about how we breathe? How is it that the chemistry principles helps them understand how substances move in and out of cells, etc. But we need to be quite explicit in helping them to make these connections. And one way that students can be encouraged to do that is to think about concept maps, to organise their knowledge in such a way that it adds to and enhances prior knowledge instead of just overwhelming them with more facts. So we all know that motivation is the key to everything, that if a student is motivated, they're going to work really hard, and if they're not motivated, they're not going to. If they are motivated, that's going to lead to goal-directed behaviour that is going to support and enhance their learning. And so while that intrinsic motivation, that motivation that arises from within, is much more important than any kind of extrinsic motivation that we could put on them. I mean, we can say you need to do this course in order to move on to the next part of your degree. If you don't get a B in the subject, you might not get into the next level, etc., etc. We know that we can do that, but it's not as helpful as having the students intrinsically motivated to do well. But one way that we can help them to feel motivated is to help them see the value of what they're doing to their lives, to their future careers, etc. Because especially in the first few years, the students don't always see the worth of what we're making them do. They might have to take math classes or writing classes or physics when they really want to become a nurse, and they don't understand why that is. So helping them see the value of this material, how it will relate to future classes or to transferable life skills, that is a really important thing that can help to motivate a student who simply doesn't know what's coming, basically. And so the other thing we need to do is get rid of the idea of classes as weed out types of classes, whether that's, organic chemistry or calculus or whatever it might be in your particular field. We don't want to say this is the class that everything is hinging on. Instead, because all that does is demotivate the students. That makes them afraid. That increases their anxiety. When they're anxious, their cortisol levels are flying around and they can't learn well and they can't access material well. So we instead might want to say this is a challenging class. This class matters. But if you take advantage of all of the resources that we've put in place to help support your learning, we know that you can and will succeed. So letting them know that it's our expectancy that our students will do well, that we believe in them, that really helps to motivate them. And the rest is up to them after that. We do know, of course, that in order to really develop mastery in any subject area or skill set area, we need to first acquire that basic skill, and then we need to practice it, and then we need to know when to apply what we've learned. And so we need to give our students ample opportunity for formative assessments to allow them to practice new skills or practice this new material in low stakes types of environments, to maybe even get some of these problems wrong, to learn from their mistakes, so that when the chips are down and it's a very important assignment, a summative assignment of some kind or an exam, that they have had plenty of opportunity to get ready and show us what they've learned. So we also know that if they practice things, the more they practice, the more we're really consolidating these new neural networks that our students have laid down every time they learn new information. And that information, when it's practiced, will be retained. Whereas if we just give one and done big assignments, we call that bulimic learning. The students try and memorize all this, they spew it all out in an exam, and then they move on to the next thing. They might have that in their short-term memory, but then it will be gone. So in order to really develop it, to really work out the kinks and then retain the skill set, we need to allow them opportunities to practice. And in doing that then, we need to be able to give them timely feedback on the quality of that practice that they've been doing. Because if we can help our students know what their goals are, if we then write assignments and assessments that directs them towards practicing these new skill sets or content areas, then that will lead to them being able to observe how well they've done. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How then can we, by helping them see where their strengths and weaknesses are, by giving them that targeted feedback, that helps guide the students to reshape how they're approaching the material. If things are working well for them, they keep doing it. If it's not working well for them, then we need to be able to direct them to what they need to be doing differently. If we have large classes, this can be a bit of a challenge to give targeted feedback. But one thing that can be helpful is to kind of look at the class holistically, talk about which areas the students seem to be doing well at and which areas some of the students are struggling with. Give them ideas then of where to go for further resources to improve that particular skill set. But it is important that we, at least once or twice a semester, give individualised, targeted feedback to our students. And one way we can do that, whether the feedback is general or it's targeted, is to make use of rubrics. And so the rubric from the AAC&U value rubrics. And these are sets of criteria that have been put together in various different content areas. And you can take these rubrics and you can shape and adapt them to your particular needs. You can add to them, you can detract from them to really help shape it to your particular context. And then if you share those, they become the expectations. Here's the assignment, here's what I expect from you. And then the students know up front what to expect. And when you are grading and using the rubric as part of the grading, the students can see, this is where I did well. Here's the particular area that I need to work on. Very, very useful. I cannot recommend rubrics highly enough. And we all know too, and we know it from our own experiences, that there are many things that are going on that can help to shape our ability of whether we're going to do well in the classroom or not. And these things can often have very, very little to do with the actual academics of the classroom and what material is that the students are trying to learn. Students' ages, their levels of maturity, their personal situations, this all can play into how they're actually feeling and how well they're able to apply themselves. And if you couple that to the climate of the class, and you take these two things, both of that can really affect the student's ability to learn. So if the student is mature, if their world is going well for them, if they have lots of support in place, and that's coupled to a climate in the classroom that is welcoming, encouraging, inclusive, these two things can fold together and help the students to have the confidence to tackle the academic challenges. But if there's something going on in that student's personal life, in their emotional world, or if the classroom doesn't feel welcoming or encouraging to them, these things can adversely and will adversely affect the student's ability to really tackle the challenges. So using a classroom survey can be very helpful. And if we do that, then that can help let the students know that we care about them as individuals. They can let us know, just broadly speaking, if there are demands in their life that we might not otherwise know about. Then, if things change, they can reach out to us and we can help put them in touch with the resources that they need to support them. We cannot possibly fix all of the things that can go wrong in a human being's life. We are not trained psychologists. We don't have all these resources at our fingertips, but we certainly can reach out to student affairs. We can let them know what's going on, and they can help us help our students find the resources that they need. And of course, our final aim is we want our students to become lifelong learners, self-directed students that are able to monitor and adjust their approaches to learning. So we need to help our students understand that intelligence and learning are dynamic. You are not smart or not smart. You don't know it or you don't know it. You can learn things. Some things are easier for you than others, and that could be a mixture of genetics, also of interest level, of motivation, etc. But where there's a will, there's a way. Everyone can learn. And so if we help them believe in their own ability to learn, that allows them then to assess the task at hand, to think about their own particular strengths and weaknesses. With that in mind, to make a plan and then to apply that and see how well it goes. They're going to monitor their performance. Are there things that they should keep doing? Are there things they need to tweak and change? And then with that reflection, they're going to be able to adjust how they are approaching their plans. This is what we are trying to encourage our students to do all the time. So including some areas in our coursework for students to reflect on their learning, to think about their metacognition, thinking about their thinking about their learning, how they might change things. This can be a really, really valuable space for students to occupy. But they very seldom do it naturally, and especially when they're young. They tend not to be sophisticated learners yet, and so they're not often thinking about this. They have too many other things that they are trying to juggle and learn. So as I say, we need to reach out to them, to let them think about what they're doing well with, what they might need help with, and then also remind them about the Academic Achievement Centre. So if they need help with tutoring, if they need help with their writing skills, etc., there are lots and lots of resources here to support their learning.